अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू।
सर कैसे हैं आप?
Alhamdulillah. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm starting straight away with once again reconsider this computation of covariance. Remember, we have said that covariance means co-moment from mean between two variables. So right here we had taken an example of Coca-Cola and Home Depot, and then we have seen that these are the deviation from mean of Coca-Cola, and this is the deviation from mean of the Home Depot. In order to know the covariance, it means the co-moment of the variance in together between the Coca-Cola and Home Depot. What we have done, we had just multiplied these deviation with each other. So once we have multiplied these deviation with each other, we have simply add them up, and then we have divided by the total number. That is carried out usually for the purpose of historic mean. जब भी हम कोई historic mean पे अगर क्या करेंगे कैलकुलेशन करेंगे तो आखिर में ये सम के साथ हम क्या करेंगे डिवीजन करेंगे. अगर ये प्रोबेबिलिटी के साथ करते, प्रोबेबिलिटी का मतलब ये है कि अब हम ये डिवीजन कैलकुलेट करने के बाद इनकी प्रोबेबिलिटी को आपस में मल्टीप्लाई करते तो फिर हमें डिवीजन की जरूरत ना होती. सो दैट्स हाउ वी हैड कैलकुलेटेड कोवेरियंस. और फिर कोरिलेशन के लिए हमने जो फॉर्मूला दिखाया था वो ये था कि हमने कहा कि कोरिलेशन इज इक्वल टू, इन ऑर्डर टू स्टैंडर्डाइज दिस, हमने कोवेरियंस को डिवाइड किया था बाय द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन ऑफ दी बोथ वेरिएबल. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब मुझे ये बताएं आप कि क्या हम कोवेरियंस तीन वेरिएबल का आपस में कैलकुलेट कर सकेंगे? Whether we will be able to calculate the covariance, a single covariance for three variables? No. As this name indicates co, it only consider two variables. All right. So whenever you are taking three variables, so we have to calculate the covariance of A with B and then B with the C. So that will be, for example, if I'm saying that we have three variables, that is A, B, and C. So first of all, we have to calculate a covariance between A and B, and then we have to calculate a covariance between A and C. So we have to calculate covariance twice. All right. So the more you are adding up the securities in your portfolio, the more you will be required to calculate the covariance. For example, you want to calculate D as well, so then you have to then actually then how many? No, sorry. Instead of 2, we have to calculate a co-moment between A, B, C. So first of all, we have to calculate a covariance between A and B. Then we have to calculate a covariance between A and C. And then we have to calculate covariance between B and C. So how many covariance we will be required to calculate?
3.
3, very good. We will be required to calculate 3 covariances, right? So now if I bring D right here, what do you think? How many times covariance will be calculated once again? Then we have to recalculate. We will be required to calculate once again a covariance between A and D. We will be also required to calculate covariance between B and D, and we will also be required to calculate a further you can say a covariance between C and D as well. So we will be required to calculate total how many covariances? 6. So that's how you can find out whenever you are adding any security in your portfolio, we will be required to calculate more and more covariances. And that's how you will be required to calculate the correlation coefficient as well. Okay, then last time we have ended up our discussion right here with the portfolio standard deviation. Actually, I have told you, in order to understand the standard deviation of portfolio, we were required to understand the concept of covariance, and we were required to understand the concept of correlation as well. These two basic statistical concepts will help us in determining the standard deviation of a portfolio. So as I've told you, Markowitz was the first one who have actually given us this formula on the basis of which we can calculate the portfolio standard deviation, right? We are required to calculate the portfolio standard deviation. Now keep in mind, if I remove this under root, if I remove this under root, So then instead of standard deviation, it will become a variance. All right. So we can calculate a variance as well on the basis of this formula. And this formula assumes what? That how many securities have we considered? We will take all the weights of those security, square that, you can say the weight. For example, let's say we have two security, A and B. So then we will be required to invest some portion of our investment in A. We will be required to invest some portion in B. So that will be known as our weight. For example, we say we have a 30 weight and 70 weight. What does it mean? It means that I will allocate 30% of my wealth to A, and I will allocate 70% of my wealth to B. So what will be WI? So we will have W1. W1 will be equal to 0.3, and W2 will be equal to 0.7. So as much as you are adding up more security, you will be getting different weights. Now keep in mind, the total of these weights must also always be equal to 1. The total must always be equal to 1. However, in formula, what do we have? We have square of this. So we will be required to take a square of this 3, and we will be required to take the square of this 7 as well. So whenever we are taking the square, then the square will be multiplied by what? It will be multiplied by that security standard deviation. Or instead of standard deviation, we will say it will be multiplied by the security variance. It will be multiplied by what? Security variance. For example, what is the variance of A and what is the variance of B? So we will be required to multiply the squared weight with the variance of that particular security, security 1, then security 2, 3, 4, and so on. Same is the case once these are calculated. These will be actually giving us a weighted average variance. And then this is for the portfolio making. And this portfolio making is, you can say, calculated on the basis of covariances. Keep in mind, if we have two assets, so we will have only one covariance. And if we have two assets, so we will be required to have three covariances. And as you are adding up any asset, you will be required to calculate more and more covariances. And every time whenever we are adding a covariances, so what we will be required, we will be multiplying the weights. For example, right here, the weight will mean 0.03 of 1 multiplied by the weight of 2, which is 0.07 right here in our case. And then multiply by whatever covariance we would have been calculated. Okay, I'm a little bit pressurized in order to, you can say, finish this chapter. And I'm trying to make my best effort in to make you understand. Please do ask question if anywhere you are incapable of understanding. Keep in mind, you still have a book. You can read the book out as well. And there is nothing that, for example, I am just referring something out of the book as well. So this is the basic formula which is provided to us by whom? It was the formula which was devised by Markowitz. On the basis of this formula, we will be able to actually calculate the standard deviation of any portfolio, whether that portfolio is made up of 2 asset, 3 asset, 4 asset, etc., etc. But keep in mind, as soon as you are increasing the number of assets in your portfolio, this will become a little bit complex. The calculation will become a little bit complex. In order to understand how does it work, we will actually start working with the 2 assets. 2 asset means that we will be only considering a portfolio in which we will be considering only 2 investment security, suppose A and B. Wahab, you want to ask any question?
No, sir.
All right. So this was already covered last time, so I'm not, you can say, reviewing it, but keep in mind right here, the main understanding we have created that usually in order to understand portfolio, we need to understand 2 things. And these 2 things is, one is risk and one is returns, right? And you know, there is a natural or you can say most obvious relationship between risk and return, that you increase risk, your return will be increased as well, right? So higher return required higher risk, and lower returns will get you a lower risk. So these are the 2 characteristics on the basis of which we are trying to understand the portfolio. And then in order, why do we make portfolio? Our main, you can say, objective of making portfolio is risk hedging, that we want to reduce our risk, but we want to maintain our higher return, right? So this is our main objective. What do we want to do? We want to reduce our risk and we want to increase our
Risk.
return, right? So in order to get this position, we are required to create a portfolio. And whenever we are creating a portfolio, so we need to take some assets that have some correlationship between each other. So right here, what is considered, that lower correlation reduces portfolio risk. Whenever a correlation is reduced or it is negative, so whenever it become a negative or it become, you can say, lower correlation, it will reduce our risk, but it will not affect our expected return. Our expected return will remain same. The general understanding of this portfolio making. In order to understand this concept, we will now consider two assets with the equal risk and return, right? I am considering, this is the same example which I have taken from the book. We are considering two assets, asset 1 and asset 2. And now we are considering that they have the equal risk and their returns are equal as well. For example, I have a share of, suppose we have Nestle share right here. I'm saying it is Nestle. And I will say, let's say this is, for example, Lever Brother, LNB. I will write down shorter, right? And suppose that the Nestle and Lever and Brother offer the same return, expected return of 20%. And when we have calculated their standard deviation, what are these? These are the expected standard deviation. It is also same 10%, right? So 20% is the return of Nestle and 20% is the expected return on Lever and Brother, which is considered as, for example, asset 1, asset 2. This is their expected return, which is same 20% and 20%. Same is the case that whenever we calculated the standard deviation, let's suppose we are just making a supposition that the standard deviation of these assets are also equal, that is 10% and 10%. Whereas further, we are supposing that the weight, that for example, we will allocate 50% of our wealth in asset 1 and we will allocate 50% of our wealth in asset 2. So whenever we are allocating the weight, so weight will become, weight of asset 1 is 50% and weight of asset 2 is 50% as well. Now, as we have equal, we have two asset portfolio with equal rate and return and equal weights, what do we consider? We try to know that we have just understood, we have tried to understand what is the correlation, and now on the basis of correlation, we are trying to understand how the correlation of different assets are changing the risk and how the correlation of two assets will be changing the returns. So for this purpose, we are now considering different correlation. In order to ensure that you people are with me, could anyone tell me what does this correlation of 1 mean? R1, 2, it means correlation between asset 1 and 2 is 1. What does this correlation means?
सर equal है.
Equal है क्या मतलब?
Positive.
Positive.
100% है सर.
Very good. यानी equally क्या करते हैं? Movement करते हैं. जितना यानी there is positive correlation, perfect positive
Yes,
correlation.
दोनों एक ही side पर positive.
सर ये 100% भी तो हो सकता है ना.
हाँ 100% मतलब इसका मतलब the change in one is equal to the change in another.
एक इंक्रीज होगा दूसरा भी इंक्रीज होगा दूसरा डिक्रीज होगा वो भी डिक्रीज होगा.
Very good, very good. And what do we mean by this -1?
Sir, negative relationship.
Negative relationship. There is perfect negative relationship. Huh? So what we are trying to do, see, we have made these returns and risk constant. So we have made these constant in order to understand what will happen whenever a correlation changes, right? What happens? So our main objective in this supposition is what? To understand the effect of correlation. How does this correlation affect on the standard deviation and return? Keep in mind, our objective is what? To keep a higher return and lower risk, right? So we will try to understand at which level of correlation our return can be of maximum and our risk will be of minimum, right? So now these
Okay,
are the value of correlation. Now if we have already determined the value of correlation, covariance can be calculated in reverse order, what I have told you previously as well. Let me write down a formula once again. We have said that uh, the correlation of I and j was equal to covariance between I and j divided by a standard deviation of I multiplied by standard deviation of j. This was formula. Now because we have already known this figure, we want to know the figure for covariance. So what we will do, we will imply that covariance is equal to correlation multiplied by standard deviation of I multiplied by standard deviation of j, which is calculated right here as well. So what we have done now, we have tried to calculate the covariance between A and B, 1 and 2, on the basis of these correlation. If there is perfect positive correlation, if there is perfect positive correlation between 1 and 2, then covariance will be equal to what? Covariance will be equal to 0.001. And same is the case if the correlation is positive 0.5, then covariance will be between 1 and 2 should be 0.005, and so on. And right here we have a perfect negative correlation, and the covariance at the perfect negative correlation will be minus 0.01 by making a calculation where this 0.1 is actually R12, this 0.1 refer to this, and this 0.1 is referring to the asset of second asset, right? So whenever we multiply them together, we get these answers. So what we have got our answer of covariances as well. And remember, we have said in order to know the standard deviation of portfolio, we require weight. So we do have weight. We require variance. So if we have standard deviation, we can calculate variance as well. And then we are required to have a weights multiplied by covariances. Now we have different covariances for different correlations. So what we will try to do, we will try to utilize this formula for each and every correlation: A, B, C, D, and E. These are different situations. And we say if we have asset with equal return and equal weight and equal standard deviation or equal risk, then if the correlation changes, so how it will affect our risk and return behavior. So now we will be putting the value of these all returns and covariances and weights in order to calculate the portfolio standard deviation for A, portfolio standard deviation for B, portfolio standard deviation for C, D, and E. So these are calculations. You can see this is a formula what I am utilizing. I have just, you can say, copied and pasted from the book. So you can read out the book and you will find out there is no surprise. So for situation A, so in order to know the situation A, what is the formula? See, the formula is weight of 1 square multiplied by variance of 1, then weight of 2 square multiplied by the variance of 2. So right here we will go, what is the weight of 1? Weight of 1 is 0.5. So we will take a square of this 0.5 and then multiply by variance. And what is variance? We say if I take a square of the standard deviation, it will become variance. So you can see 0.5 square multiplied by 0.10 square. So it become the weight multiplied by the variance, or weighted square multiplied by variance of security 1 plus weight square of the variance of security 2, and then according to formula plus this is a 2 because we are making a portfolio of 2. So this becomes 2 for these two summation. You can find out right here. We have used the 2 summation sign. So these 2 summation sign will result numerically in number 2. 2 multiplied by the weight of 1 multiplied by the weight of 2 multiplied by the variance of 1 and 2 in situation A. So the covariance in situation 1 is 0.01. So we are taking this value 0.01. Now, if you solve this equation, what is the answer? Our answer is 0.01. Standard deviation of portfolio is how much percent?
0.10.
0.1.
0.1. Now,
10%.
very good. Do you find it out if we have a security 1 and security 2, which have a standard deviation of 10, of 1 and standard deviation of 2 is also 10, does making a equal weight security, you can say portfolio of these two security, change our risk? Does it change our risk?
No, sir.
No, it does not, right? So what we have learned right here, that whenever there is perfect correlation between two security, when there is perfect positive correlation between,
Perfect relation.
very good, whenever there is perfect positive correlation between two security of equal returns and equal uh, risk with the equal weight, will not change your risk behavior. The risk will remain same. So if the risk remains same, do you think we have created a good portfolio?
No, sir.
No. Why do we want to
No,
create a
sir, कम हो
portfolio?
गया था.
We will like to create a portfolio in order to
Sir,
reduce this risk, right?
कम.
रिस्क
Yes,
कम
sir.
करने के लिए। तो सबसे पहले हमें क्या पता चला? हमें यह पता चला कि जब भी पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन होगी तो उसमें जो हमारा रिस्क है वो कम नहीं होता, गिवन दैट अगर तो वो एक जैसे वेट और एक जैसे उनके क्या है रिस्क एंड रिटर्न है। तो यूजुअली हम क्या यहाँ से साबित कर रहे हैं? हम ये साबित कर रहे हैं कि परफेक्ट पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन जो है अच्छी पोर्टफोलियो नहीं बनाती, क्योंकि उसमें रिस्क कम नहीं होता, रिलेटिवली रिस्क कम नहीं होता। ठीक है? So the important point is that we get no real benefit from combining two assets that are perfectly correlated. They are like one asset already because they are return. यानी इसको हम ऐसे ही कह सकते हैं कि ये एक ही एसेट होगा। अगर कोई ऐसे दो एसेट हम अपने पोर्टफोलियो में क्रिएट करते हैं जिनका रिटर्न भी एक जैसे हो और इनका रिस्क भी एक जैसे हो, तो उसका पोर्टफोलियो कोई भी अच्छी कॉम्बिनेशन साबित नहीं होगा। क्यों? क्योंकि उसमें रिस्क उतना ही रहेगा, वो ऐसे ही है जैसे आपने एक ही सिक्योरिटी जमा कर दी। सो नाउ वी आर नाउ मूविंग टू बी। ठीक है, अब बी के लिए क्या होगा? तो बी के लिए हम देख रहे हैं, ये कैलकुलेशन हमने बी के लिए कर दी। ठीक है, अब बी के लिए यहाँ पे आपने वंस अगेन कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड, ये तो चेंज नहीं हो रही, ये तो सारे एक जैसे हैं, वेट भी हमेशा वही रहेगा, रिटर्न भी वही रहेंगे, स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन एंड वेरिएंस भी वही रहेंगे, लेकिन जो चेंज हो रहे हैं वो कोवेरिएंस हो रहे हैं। तो यहाँ पे आपने अब नाउ यू हैव टू कंसीडर दिस कोवेरिएंस ऑफ बी which is 0.005. So we are just changing this last bit 0.005 right here, 0.005, and other things are the same. So now what we get the standard standard deviation of portfolio at 0.00866. Do you think the risk has been reduced?
Yes, sir.
So what you see right here, what happened?
Okay, sir. अगर सर 50 में अगर रिटर्न होगा तो
यहाँ पे
पॉजिटिव ही है लेकिन थोड़ा कम है।
हाँ, जैसे हम
Perfectly
ये कह
नहीं
रहे
है।
हैं, हम ये कहते हैं कि whenever the correlation is reduced, so it is reducing our risk. As the correlation is reduced, it have started reducing our risk. Same is the case right here. Same calculation will be carried out for C, and same calculation is carried out for D. So I have just mentioned the answer. Calculation will remain same. So you can see that as soon as the relationship is reduced, so from 8.6%, it will become 7%, and further, whenever it is further reduced to the negative correlation, so it have become 0.05, right? Now, finally, when we are considering the perfect negative correlation, what will happen? For perfect negative correlation, what is standard deviation?
Zero.
Zero.
0. If there is no standard deviation, do you think there is any risk?
No.
No, sir.
No, there is no risk. What does this mean? It means that if one is decreasing, another will be increasing by the same amount, right? If you are losing
Yes.
something in one, so you will gain in another. So you will be actually remain in the same position. For example, you have purchased a security of 50, A is 50, and B is, for example, 45, right? And there is negative correlation. There is negative correlation and perfect negative correlation. Suppose if A reduces by 2 points and it will become 48. What will happen to B? The price of B will
Sir,
become how much?
47 हो जाएगा.
47 हो जाएगी.
47.
It will become 47, right? So does it change the total? For example, total
No, sir.
investment.
No, sir.
The total investment is 95 here, and total investment will remain 95. So do you get any risk right here?
No, sir.
No.
So because there is negative perfect correlation. And now, for example, if the price become 45, what will happen to the price of B?
50.
It will become 50. So whether it will change my value? No,
No,
it
sir.
will remain
95.
same,
Yeah.
right? So what happens now? These are, I have just considered for the prices, but you can consider for return as well. If the return of A is reduced from 50% to 48%, so our return in B will increase from 45% to 47%. So we will remain on the same percentage of return. So what do we, you can say, conclude right here from this perfect negative correlation? We say the perfect negative correlation means that we will be able to reduce the risk to the minimal, but it will never be zero. Right here it is zero because we have considered two security with equal weight, with equal return, and equal standard deviation, right? So in this case, now if I consider this graph, you can see then whenever A is reducing, the B is increasing. And whenever the
Yes.
A is increasing, the B is decreasing. So what is this black line? This is actually my 95 value, which I have shown you. So in perfect negative correlation, our mean return from portfolio asset A and B will remain unchanged. And thus, theoretically, what we have done, we have eliminated total risk out of our security, those security which are having equal returns and equal standard deviation. Now keep in mind, if the returns are a little bit different from each other and the standard deviation is a little bit different between each other, so definitely we will not get this situation, but somehow we will consider that perfect negative correlation will reduce the risk to the minimalist. So what is our conclusion? Our conclusion is that perfect positive correlation does not help us in portfolio making, but perfect negative correlation will ultimately reduce our risk of, you can say, portfolio. Now right here, we are considering different correlation. You can see that, for example, our return remains same 20%. It does not change. Our return remains same in situation A, B, C, D, E. In all cases, the return does not change. But what does it change? It changes the standard deviation. So you can find out on perfect correlation, we are at the highest risk. And on perfect negative correlation, we are at lowest
Zero
risk.
risk.
So what does it mean? So it means that whenever we are moving from positive correlation towards the negative correlation, we will be able to reduce what?
Standard deviation and risk.
Very good. Standard deviation means risk. We will be able to reduce risk, right? So what is our objective in portfolio making? Our objective will be to introduce such kind of assets which are positively correlated to each other or negatively correlated to each other.
Sir, negative.
Negatively. Very good. our main objective will be to introduce such kind of asset in our portfolio which are negatively related to each other. Now we are considering different risk and different returns, right? Same asset 1 and 2, but with the different expected return and different standard deviation and variance, right? But we are keeping the weights same. Now what do we want to see right here? We want to see that when we are changing the correlation between different security to security with different risk and different return, so does it really help us in getting this position once again from positive correlation, whether we will be able to reduce our risk but maintain our return? So we want to check that, right? For this purpose, we are taking same cases A, B, C, D, and E, right? These are different. Covariances are calculated with the same manner, 0.07, 007, 0.0035. These are calculated for on the basis of what? These are calculated on the basis of standard deviation, these, right? How it is calculated? The covariance is equal to correlation multiplied by standard deviation of 1, standard deviation of 2. So you can calculate that 1 multiplied by 0.07 multiplied by 0.10 is equal to 0.007. Then 0.5 multiplied by 0.07 multiplied by 0.10 is equal to 0.0035, and so on, right? And for this, you can find out this figure will become negative as well. So now what we are required to see, we are required to see if we have two assets with different returns and different standard deviation. And obviously you can see whenever return have increased, so same, the standard deviation have increased as well. High risk, high return. High risk, high return. Low risk, low return. So we say when we are combining such kind of security with different correlation, so does it affect the portfolio standard deviation, portfolio risk or not? Combining two stock with a different return and risk, negative correlation reduce portfolio risk, as we have decided already. So combining two assets with a perfect negative correlation reduces the portfolio standard deviation to 0 only when individual standard deviation are equal. Keep in mind, we will get a 0 risk whenever their standard deviation is same. Right here, the standard deviation was same, 0.1, 0.1. So that's why the perfect correlation have given us a 0 risk. But right here in this situation, we do not have a same standard deviation. So we will say with perfect negative correlation, these will give us a lowest standard deviation, but it will never be 0.
Yes sir, equal होगा तो 0 होगा.
हाँ, अब ये जो कैलकुलेशन है ये मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बताऊंगा, ठीक है? ये क्या है? 1 क्या है? सिक्योरिटी 1. यहां से हम देखते हैं सिक्योरिटी 1, उसका रिटर्न कितना है?
0.10.
0.10. और
10.
इसका स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन कितना है? 0.07.
0.07.
ठीक है?
0.7.
So we have, you can
1%.
say, now we have a graph. Let's suppose, for example, this is a graph. This is expected return, and this is a standard deviation, right? SD, standard sigma, let's say. So in order to put this point right here in this graph, what I will do, I will try to find out 0.07, and I will try to find out right here 0.10. And then combining these together, for example, right here, I will put point on graph. What does this point indicate? It indicates expected return and standard deviation of asset 1. And then whenever I'm taking this one, 0.20, so 0.20 will be almost right here, 0.2. And then I have to calculate this 0.10, so definitely it will be further right here, it will be right here, for example, 0.10. So in top of 0.10 and in front of 0.20, I have a point for security 2 right here. So what does it indicate? It indicates as soon as my risk increases, what will happen to my return? My return increases as well. But do we want this thing? No. What do we want? We want a constant return with a lower risk, or we say higher return with a lower risk. It means we want the risk to be somewhat right here rather than right here. So these points are actually calculated on that graph for situation A, B, C, D, and E. So this is whenever we are not making any portfolio. So we have a return of 10% with a 7% of standard deviation or 7% risk. And if we do not make any portfolio, but we have investment in asset 2, so if we have investment in the asset 2, so we will have a return of 20% with 10% of risk. But if we create a portfolio of 1 and 2 with a perfect positive correlation, we will be able to reduce what? We'll be able to reduce what? Risk.
सर
We have reduced the risk,
रिटर्न भी
right? लेकिन अब यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं, अगर तो मेरे पास पहले से 2 सिक्योरिटी पड़ी हुई थी और मैंने इसमें 1 ऐड कर दिया तो मेरा रिस्क कम हो जाएगा। लेकिन अगर मेरे पास
Yes,
सिक्योरिटी
sir.
1 थी और उसमें 2 ऐड कर दिया तो मेरा रिस्क कम हो रहा है या ज्यादा हो रहा है?
सर ज्यादा हो रहा है।
ज्यादा हो रहा है। परफेक्ट कोरिलेशन में, परफेक्ट पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन में, if I was holding security 2 and then I have added security 1, I will be able to reduce the risk as well as I have to compensate for reduction of risk my return as well. But
Yes,
if
sir.
I was at situation 1, I was holding only one security, security 1, and then I have decided to create a portfolio by adding 2 in this one. As soon as I have added this 2 in my one, so my risk will increase, so is my return
Yes, sir.
as well. ठीक है?
रिटर्न
सो क्या हुआ
Yes.
कि हम कहते हैं कि जो पॉजिटिव परफेक्ट पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन है उसमें हमारा अगर एक सिचुएशन है उसमें से रिटर्न कम हो रहा है, दूसरे में से रिस्क ज्यादा हो रहा है। ठीक है? नाउ इन सिचुएशन बी whenever we are reducing our correlation, so you can see from A the B the correlation have been reduced, तो रिस्क क्या हुआ? What happened to risk?
सर थोड़ा सा कम हुआ है।
कम हो गया। And then whenever we have
Yes,
reduced
sir.
to zero correlation की वजह से रिस्क कितना हुआ? और कम हो गया।
और कम हो गया।
और जब हमने फर्दर इसको नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन की तरफ मूव कर गए तो फिर हमारा रिस्क क्या हुआ? और कम हो गया। और ये क्या है? और ये है परफेक्ट कोरिलेशन। ये क्या है?
नेगेटिव यस
परफेक्ट
नेगेटिव
कोरिलेशन। तो यहाँ पे हमने देखा कि हमारा रिटर्न तो कम नहीं हो रहा, So you have seen by example of this two set of security, we have tried to prove that whenever we are combining two securities together with the least level of correlation or with the negative correlation, we will be able to maintain, you can say, the weighted average expected return of A and B, weighted average expected return of A and B, but with a lower risk. We will be able to reduce a risk but not the return. इसमें किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है?
नो सर, ये क्लियर है.
ठीक है, good. Now what we are trying to do, we are now going with the different weights. हम यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे थे? हमने पहले कहा था कि we are assuming, यहाँ पे हमने assume किया था equal risk, equal return, equal risk, equal return and equal weights. ठीक है, ये मैं हाईलाइट कर लेता हूँ. हमने कंसीडर
नेक्स्ट में हम रिस्क और रिटर्न को सर कांस्टेंट
वेट और कोरिलेशन. हाँ, अब हम क्या करेंगे, बाकी चीज को क्या करते हैं और रिस्क को सिर्फ हम वेट्स को क्या करेंगे, हम वेट्स को चेंज करेंगे. ठीक है, सो वी आर चेंजिंग वेट्स. ठीक है, वी हैव सिक्योरिटी, द सेम सिक्योरिटी विद अ डिफरेंट रिस्क बट सेम कोरिलेशन. और ये कोरिलेशन हमने जीरो ले लिया कि जीरो के साथ हमारी कैलकुलेशन आसान हो जाती है, क्योंकि जीरो में वो जो दूसरी वाली कैलकुलेशन है वो जीरो हो जाएगी. तो हमने क्या करना होगा, हमने वेट स्क्वायर मल्टीप्लाई बाय स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन स्क्वायर लेना होगा और इस तरह हम कोवेरिएंस द स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन ऑफ पोर्टफोलियो क्रिएट कर सकेंगे. So now we are taking, for example, now these are different situations. We had calculated a situation up to A, B, C, D and E, and now we are considering a situation of F, G, H, I, J, K and L, right? And how we are considering this situation, that we say that, for example, we are holding only asset 2 but not holding any asset 1, and then later on we say we now bring in the asset 2 as well. 20% of our investment is now located in asset 1, and now gradually we are increasing our investment in asset 1 and we are reducing our, you can say, investment in asset 2 to the point that all of the investment is converted to asset 1, but it does not remain any investment in asset 2. So these are the different situations with which we were trying to understand how does these weight impact on our portfolio risk. Does the weight affect our portfolio risk or not? In case whenever there is zero correlation, or we say whenever the correlation is constant. So our expected rate, this is 20%. It will remain of, you can say 2. You can find out when we invest 100% in 2, so we will get the return of 2 only. But as soon as you increase the investment, you reduce the investment in 2 and increase the investment in 1, so our return will change. Now we have 20% of 10% and 80% of 20%. We add them together. So what I'm trying to, how I'm calculating this, 20% multiplied by 10% and 80% multiplied by 20%. And then these are multiplied with each other. We get how much? Then these are added with each other. So we get how much? We get 0.18. You can calculate in this way, 0.2 multiplied by 0.1 plus 0.8 multiplied by 0.2. So whenever you solve this, you get the value of 0.18. 0.18, right? So now consider this. As soon as you are combining a lower return security, whenever you are increasing the weight of lower return security, what is happening to your expected return? Is it increasing or reducing?
Reducing.
Reducing. And ultimately,
Increasing.
right? Whenever you are divesting from the highest return and investing in the lowest return security, what will happen to your return? Your return will gradually start decreasing, right? it will gradually start decreasing and until and unless it will then emerge in security 1. ये देखें सिक्योरिटी 1 का कितना था रिटर्न 10%, और अब आप देखेंगे कि आखिर में आपके पास रिटर्न कितना बच जाएगा 10%। क्यों? क्योंकि हमने सारी की सारी इन्वेस्टमेंट 2 से निकाल के 1 में कर दी, तो ऑब्वियसली हमारा रिटर्न सिर्फ 1 का बचेगा। और जब हमारी सिर्फ 100% इन्वेस्टमेंट 2 में थी तो हमारा रिटर्न भी 2 की इक्वल था। और जैसे ही हमने हाईएस्ट रिटर्न से लोएस्ट रिटर्न की तरफ अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट या वेटेज ज्यादा करनी शुरू की तो हमारी रिटर्न कम होना शुरू हुआ। तो यहाँ से आपको क्या समझ आ रही है? वेरी गुड। हाईएस्ट रिटर्न से लोएस्ट रिटर्न वाली सिक्योरिटी में इन्वेस्टमेंट ज्यादा करेंगे तो आपका रिटर्न कम होना शुरू हो जाएगा। और अगर मैं इस ऑर्डर में देखना शुरू करूं फिर क्या होगा, ये इस तरह। अब आप क्या कहेंगे?
इंक्रीज हो रही है।
हाँ, whenever you can say reduce your investment in the lowest return and start increasing in the highest return, आपका रिटर्न क्या होगा? इंक्रीज होना शुरू हो जाएगा।
होगा।
लेकिन क्या हम सिर्फ रिटर्न चाहते हैं या हम रिस्क को भी मिनिमाइज करना चाहते हैं?
मिनिमाइज करना चाहते हैं,
कम करना चाहते हैं।
वेरी गुड। सो वी वांट टू सी व्हिच कॉम्बिनेशन इज बेस्ट। We want to see which combination in best in which we have higher return but lowest risk. So for this purpose we will, ये expected portfolio return है और ये क्या है? Expected standard deviation of portfolio. Standard deviation of portfolio. Standard deviation of portfolio कैसे calculate होते हैं? ये हमने उसमें से देख लिया था कि हम इसकी वेटेड एवरेज ले लेंगे, जैसे हमने उसमें देखा था ये फॉर्मूला। ठीक है, ये वाले फॉर्मूले के मुताबिक हमने क्या किया? वेट स्क्वायर मल्टीप्लाई बाय द वेरिएंस ऑफ 1 मल्टीप्लाई बाय वेट स्क्वायर ऑफ वेरिएंस ऑफ 2 प्लस 2, ये 2 जो है फॉर्मूले वाला, मल्टीप्लाई बाय वेट मल्टीप्लाई बाय वेट ऑफ सेकंड मल्टीप्लाई बाय द कोरिलेशन। तो यहाँ पे हम अब क्या कर रहे हैं? कोरिलेशन हमारा 0 है, तो कोरिलेशन जब 0 है तो क्या होगा? हमारे पास ये स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन, ये आप फिर कैलकुलेशन देख सकते हैं। एज सुन एज हम क्या कर रहे हैं? वेट चेंज कर रहे हैं, हमारे रिटर्न क्या नहीं, हमारा रिस्क क्या हो रहा है? डिक्रीज हो रहा है। लेकिन क्या ये कंटिन्यूअसली डिक्रीज हो रहा है?
तो सर लास्ट में इंक्रीज हो रहा है।
हाँ, देखें तो क्या हुआ कि हमने whenever we have start you can say investing from riskier security to the lower risk security, lower return lower risk security, तो हमारा पोर्टफोलियो रिस्क क्या होना शुरू हुआ? इट हैव स्टार्ट रिड्यूसिंग। ये 10% से 8% हो गया। फिर हमने मजीद अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट किसकी तरफ कर दी? हमने सिक्योरिटी ए से 20% मजीद सिक्योरिटी ए में कर दी, बी यानी हायर रिस्क सिक्योरिटी से लोअर रिस्क सिक्योरिटी में अपनी परसेंटेज इन्वेस्टमेंट जब बढ़ा दी तो हमारा रिस्क क्या हुआ? और कम हो गया। हमारे रिटर्न भी कम हो रहा है और हमारा रिस्क भी कम हो रहा है। ठीक है, देन फर्दर हमारा रिस्क कम हो गया, यहाँ पे हमारा रिस्क 0.58 हो गया। लेकिन इसके बाद क्या हो रहा है? when we are now shifting our investment from security 1 to security from security 2 to security 1, हमारा रिटर्न भी कम हो रहा है और हमारा रिस्क भी क्या हो रहा है? बढ़ना शुरू हो गया। तो इनमें कौन सी सिचुएशन बेस्ट है? F G H I J K L, इसमें कौन सी?
सर
आई में क्या है?
सर
तो 0.61
इक्वल रिटर्न और इक्वल कम रिस्क होगा।
नहीं, लेकिन ये रिस्क आपका क्या है? अभी सबसे कम रिस्क है।
नो सर।
यानी अगर एक कंजर्वेटिव एक बंदा हो ना जो रिस्क एवर्ट होता है, तो वो रिस्क एवर्ट इसमें से कौन सा पसंद करेगा? ये हाईएस्ट रिस्क और लोवेस्ट रिस्क। इसमें लोवेस्ट रिस्क कौन सा वाला है? जे। ठीक है, तो आप देखते हैं कि जे पे क्या हो रहा है? जे पे हमारा जो रिस्क है वो मिनिमलिस्ट हो जाता है, हमारा एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न 14% हो जाता है। दो वी आर इंक्रीजिंग आवर रिटर्न फ्रॉम 10 to 14, बट वी हैव you can say left we have traded off 6% return for the reduced level of risk. हमने 6% रिटर्न क्यों छोड़ दिया? क्योंकि हमने अपना रिस्क कम से कम कर दिया। अच्छा, यहाँ पे एक दो सिचुएशन आपने समझनी है, एफ और एल की। ठीक है, जब हमारा सारा का सारा इन्वेस्टमेंट सिर्फ सिक्योरिटी 2 में होगा तो हमारा रिस्क और रिटर्न सिक्योरिटी 2 की इक्वल होगा। सिक्योरिटी 2 का रिटर्न कितना है? 20%। यहाँ पे देखें, पीछे जाते हैं, सिक्योरिटी 2 का रिस्क रिटर्न कितना है? 20%। और इसका रिस्क कितना था? ये पिछली बार हमने देखा था यहाँ पे, ये इसका रिस्क कितना था? 10%। 20% इसकी रिटर्न थी, रिस्क इसका 10% था। और सिक्योरिटी 1 का कितना था? 10% रिटर्न और 7% रिस्क। तो ये एफ एंड जे में आप अब नोट करें, एफ एंड एल में, सॉरी, एफ में जब हमारा 100% इन्वेस्टमेंट सिर्फ और सिर्फ सिक्योरिटी 2 में होगा तो हमारा रिटर्न और रिस्क सिक्योरिटी 2 के इक्वल ही होगा। और जब हमारा इन्वेस्टमेंट सारी की सारी इन्वेस्टमेंट सिक्योरिटी 1 में होगी तो हमारा रिटर्न एंड रिस्क सिक्योरिटी 1 की इक्वल होगा। नाउ वी आर मेकिंग अ डिफरेंट कॉम्बिनेशन। What does it tell us? It tells us that whenever we are changing weights of two security, we are also able to reduce our risk. ठीक है, अब यहां से हमें क्या पता चला कि जब भी हम वेट अपनी सिक्योरिटी के चेंज करते हैं तो दैट चेंजिंग ऑफ वेट कैन आल्सो रिड्यूस आवर रिस्क। ठीक है, तो वी विल आल्सो बी ट्रेडिंग ऑफ आवर रिटर्न्स। जब हम अपना रिस्क कम कर रहे हैं तो हमारा अपना जो रिटर्न है उसको भी ट्रेड ऑफ कर रहे हैं। लेकिन एक वक्त ऐसे आ जाता है कि उसके बाद हमें ट्रेड ऑफ करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, हम मिनिमलिस्ट रिस्क लेवल पे पहुंच जाएंगे। And right here our minimalist risk of standard deviation is 5.8%, and that is J situation is the most secure, we can say, where return is 14% and the risk is the lowest one. Now it will depend totally upon you as being investor कि आप रिस्क एवर्टर है या रिस्क सीकर है। आप इसमें से आपका जो रिस्क प्रोफाइल है वो कौन सा है? आप इसमें से ज्यादा रिस्क लेना चाहते हैं या यही मिनिमलिस्ट रिस्क लेना चाहेंगे? अच्छा, फॉर एग्जांपल आप रिस्क टेकर है, ठीक है, ये तो हमारा क्या हो गया? रिस्क एवर्जन वाली सिचुएशन हो गई। अगर आप रिस्क टेकर है तो आपके ख्याल में आप यहाँ पे मूव करेंगे या आप यहाँ पे मूव करेंगे?
ऊपर सर, ऊपर।
ऊपर। क्यों? अब यहाँ पे भी रिस्क तो ज्यादा हो रहा है ना, तो आप नीचे क्यों नहीं आ रहे? आप कह रहे हैं सर रिस्क तो ज्यादा हो रहा है लेकिन मेरा रिटर्न कम हो रहा है।
कम हो।
तो इसलिए इफ यू आर रिस्क टेकर, सो व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग टू डू, यू आर इंक्रीजिंग द रिस्क इन ऑर्डर टू इंक्रीज योर रिटर्न। ठीक है, सो दिस इज द मेन अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट वी टेक फ्रॉम दीस डिफरेंट सिचुएशंस। ये था हमारा टू सिक्योरिटीज। ठीक है, अब ये पोर्टफोलियो रिस्क एंड रिटर्न को ये जो सिचुएशन है, ग्राफ है, ग्राफिकली इसको प्रेजेंट करेंगे। ये देखें, अगर आप सिक्योरिटी 1 से मूव करते हैं सिक्योरिटी 2 की तरफ तो आपका रिटर्न क्या होगा? बढ़ेगा। आपका रिटर्न क्या होगा? बढ़ जाएगा। ठीक है, और लेकिन अगर आप 2 से 1 की तरफ इन्वेस्टमेंट की रुख करेंगे तो आपका रिटर्न कम होगा। नाउ टॉक अबाउट रिस्क। जब आप 1 से 2 की तरफ मूव करेंगे तो आपका रिस्क क्या होगा? बढ़ेगा सर। और अगर आप 2 से 1 की तरफ मूव करेंगे तो आपका रिस्क क्या होगा? कम होता जाएगा। और ये कब? जब इसमें परफेक्ट क्या हो? परफेक्ट, ये पॉजिटिव, ये आर जो है हमारा कोरिलेशन है। ठीक है, whenever there is perfect positive correlation, if you are moving from security 1 to security 2, that is from lower risk and lower return security to high risk higher return security, so you will increase your risk and you will be increasing your return as well. And as soon as you start you can say converting your investment from 2 to 1 with the perfect positive correlation, you will be reducing your risk as well as your return as well. लेकिन हम तो ये नहीं चाहते, हम तो चाहते हैं कि हमारा रिटर्न क्या हो? कांस्टेंट हो या अनकांस्टेंट हो? हम कहते हैं कि हमारा रिटर्न कांस्टेंट होना चाहिए लेकिन हमारा रिस्क रिड्यूस होना चाहिए। तो अब नाउ वी आर टेकिंग डिफरेंट सिचुएशन। नाउ वी आर टेकिंग एफ and then F, G, H, I and J. Now see what happened whenever we are taking different situation right here. So see, as soon as we are taking no correlation, this was perfect correlation, and when we are taking no correlation, there is no correlation between these two security, यानी एक मूवमेंट से दूसरे की मूवमेंट में कोई फर्क नहीं आता। जीरो कोरिलेशन का क्या मतलब है? If one is moving, the other does not move। ठीक है, तो उसमें से होगा क्या? as soon as we are moving from 2 toward 1, हम अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट टर्न कर रहे हैं, तो हमारा क्या हो रहा है, रिटर्न के साथ रिस्क भी क्या हो रहा है, कम हो रहा है, रिटर्न के साथ रिस्क भी कम हो रहा है। और आप देखते हैं कि एक ओल्ड ऑप्टिमल सिचुएशन बन गई जे, जहां पे हमारा लोवेस्ट रिस्क एंड समहाउ द रिटर्न इज कंसिडरेबली हाई फ्रॉम के एंड एल सिचुएशन। के एंड एल सिचुएशन से हमारा जो रिटर्न है वो ज्यादा है, तकरीबन 14%। यहाँ पे देखें 14% हमारा क्या है, रिटर्न है। तो आप ये देख रहे हैं कि जब हम वेट्स चेंज करते हैं, whenever we start changing weights with the zero correlation, our risk profile start reducing to certain point, then afterward it will start increasing once again। ठीक है, तो मतलब क्या हुआ कि हम वेट से भी अपनी जो सिक्योरिटी रिस्क है उसको क्या कर सकते हैं, कम करवा सकते हैं। विद अनकोरिलेशन एसेट इट्स पॉसिबल टू क्रिएट अ टू एसेट पोर्टफोलियो विद द लोअर रिस्क देन ईदर सिंगल एसेट। लोअर रिस्क यानी इसमें जो रिस्क था 10% कितना था, 10% था, और इसमें रिस्क जो था वो 7% था, लेकिन हमने इनकी कॉम्बिनेशन से एक ऐसी पोर्टफोलियो क्रिएट कर दिया जो कि ना तो 10% है ना 20% है, बल्कि कितना परसेंट है, 0.58%। ठीक है, 0.058%। तो हम कहते हैं कि वी कैन क्रिएट अ लोअर रिस्क सिक्योरिटी पोर्टफोलियो by taking two different security with uncorrelation by merely devising their weights। हम weight change करेंगे तो उसका रिस्क हम कम करवा सकते हैं, but it will have a marginal you can say point or optimal point, और इसके बाद ये कम नहीं होगा। ठीक है, अब हम ये देखते हैं कि ये तो परफेक्ट क्या था, पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन था, ये नो कोरिलेशन होगा। अब हमने एक और देखना होगा जिसमें हम ये देखते हैं परफेक्ट नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन हो तो क्या होगा। ठीक है, सो ये हमें एक और ग्राफिकली बता रहे जाए कि अगर 1 से हम 0 की तरफ मूव करते हैं और पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन हो लेकिन 50% पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन हो, तो आप देखते हैं कि हमारा जो रिस्क प्रोफाइल है ये यहाँ तक आता है, यानी जो रिस्क है वो अल्टीमेटली उस पोजीशन तक 0.058 तक नहीं आ सकता जो कि नो कोरिलेशन पे था। लेकिन अब अगर हम नेगेटिव की तरफ जाए, देखें ये 0 से 5 की तरफ आ गए तो यहाँ पे आ गया, 0 की तरफ आ गए तो यहाँ पे। अब मुझे बताएं कि अगर मैं RI माइनस 0.5 लूं तब क्या होगा, ये लेफ्ट की तरफ मूव होना शुरू हो जाएगा या राइट की तरफ ग्राफ। यानी फॉर एग्जांपल मैं यहाँ पे ग्राफ बता दूं, तो आपके ख्याल में हमारा जो ग्राफ होगा वो इस तरह हो जाएगा, इस तरह हो जाएगा, या मैं ये बता दूं कि या वो इस तरह होगा,
सर लेफ्ट होगा, लेफ्ट।
ये जो रेड लाइन मैंने बता दी इस तरफ होना शुरू हो जाएगा। तो ऑटोमेटिकली हम क्या कह रहे हैं कि जब हम कोरिलेशन कम कर रहे हैं, whenever we are going with towards the negative correlation, और हम weight combination बना रहे हैं, so we are able to create a combination of security with the lowest risk but constant return। अब ये देखें इसके बाद जो हमारे पास सिचुएशन आ रही है वो ये देखें with 0.5 नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन, और जब अगर परफेक्टली नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन हो जाएगा तब ये कहाँ हो जाएगा, ये और भी दूर चला जाएगा, और ऑलमोस्ट 0 तक चला जाएगा। ठीक है, ये ऑलमोस्ट कहाँ तक चला जाएगा, रिस्क कम हो जाएगा। तो यहाँ से हमें पता क्या चल रहा है, हमें ये पता चल रहा है कि जब भी whenever you are moving from positive to negative correlation, you will be able to reduce a risk by devising weights। आप वेट चेंज करते जाएं, आप अपना रिस्क कम करते जाएंगे, एंड यू विल बी एबल टू मेंटेन अ कांस्टेंट रिटर्न। ठीक है, तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि वी कैन सिलेक्ट अ ऑप्टिमल पोर्टफोलियो विद द हाईएस्ट रिटर्न बट विद द लोएस्ट रिस्क। समझ आ गई? लेकिन ये हमने कितनी इसमें एसेट्स शामिल किए थे, 2 या 2 से ज्यादा?
2
हाँ, वी हैव ओनली कंसिडर्ड 2 एसेट्स, ठीक है, सिर्फ 2 एसेट इसमें कंसिडर किए थे। अच्छा, इससे पहले एक और चीज भी है जो कि बुक में है, मैंने स्लाइड्स में नहीं ली बल्कि वो जो डाउनलोडेड स्लाइड्स हैं उसमें नहीं आई थी। वो है 3 एसेट पोर्टफोलियो। ये आई विल लीव दिस अप टू यू, ठीक है। यहाँ पे आपको सिर्फ ये जो कैलकुलेशन है ना, इसकी डिटेल बताए गए हैं। जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था कि जैसे ही आप एक और एसेट लेके आएंगे तो आपका कोवेरिएंस 3 हो जाएंगे, 3 कोवेरिएंसेस। तो यहाँ पे देखें, ये 1, ये 2 और ये 3। तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि आप जितना नंबर ऑफ सिक्योरिटी ज्यादा करेंगे, आपका इसमें जो कोवेरिएंसेस या कैलकुलेशन है वो और भी क्या होता जाएगा, कम्प्लेक्स होता जाएगा। इसकी जो कैलकुलेशन है वो थोड़ी सी कम्प्लेक्स होती जाएगी। इसमें ये सिचुएशन आप खुद काइंडली रीड कीजिएगा, इट इज इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड, सो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम स्किपिंग। हाउएवर, आई विल कंसीडर सम ऑफ द एस्टिमेशन इशू। टाइम पूरा हो गया? ओ यार, काइंडली ये जो एस्टिमेशन इशू है ना, ये आप खुद पढ़ लीजिए। मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि फिर अगर आप लोगों ने इसको अंडरस्टैंड किया हुआ है तो वेल एंड गुड, वरना मैं फिर इसमें 4-5 मिनट की बात करके इसको क्लोज करूंगा।